Is it just me, or does it seem like Jesus Christ is on his way? Is it just me, or could it be that it could happen any day?
Am I the only one who believes we're on the brink of eternity?
Is church about to leave, or is it just me?
And how are you folks today?
We are doing very well, thank you. It's a beautiful day. We're in the 70s, so it's just nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have here. It's about 70 degrees on a nice late summer, early fall, depending on how you cut it.
Right.
Just a beautiful day out, so enjoying it. So we are in our 2021 missions conference. And first off, do you folks have any idea how long we've supported you? I know it's been a while.
It has probably been since the 70s.
I think before that.
At least the 70s. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Sylvia, are you the fact checker on this? Is that?
I think it's longer. I think it was before we were married, but I don't know.
We as a church have a tendency to get a hold of missionaries and not let them go again. We hang on to them long as we can.
Yeah.
Have you been able to check it?
I have not. I don't have the records on that, but I know I've been here 13 years, and I knew you'd been with us a long time before that. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the first question is, how are you both doing physically?
Generally speaking, we are doing well. I have a couple of issues with my prostate, and I'm taking medications for that. No problem, really. I have sleep apnea, but I have a CPAP machine, and that keeps me going okay. And generally speaking, I'm doing well. Sylvia?
I'm doing okay.
She's doing okay, but she has one issue that's of concern. About 3 years ago now, she had swelling in her tongue and in her mouth and in her face. And it continued, and we took her to the doctor, and he couldn't find any allergies and things like that. But every doctor we had see her said it's angioedema, a swelling of the face and of the tongue and of the mouth. And it can be quite serious if the swelling continues. But they said, take 2 Benadryl as soon as you start swelling, and then 2 every 6 hours until it stops. And she's been doing that and has had fairly frequent episodes. Finally, our doctor referred her to an allergy clinic. It took them about 3 months to get back to us and to set up an appointment. And we had to wait 4 months for an appointment. And that appointment will take place on October 26th. So pray that everything will go well, and they'll find out the source of this swelling that she's been having. It's of considerable concern.
Yeah, we absolutely be praying for that. Now, other than what everybody else has gone through, how has COVID affected your ministry? What's happened for you folks through the last couple of years?
Probably it's been mainly through our relationship with our local church. And it's having to shut down face-to-face, in-person meetings. And for that reason, we had to cancel our Sunday school class, which I've been teaching for a few years now. And we went for 1.5 years without teaching Sunday school. But now we've been back for the past month. We've begun again, so we're back into that activity. Yeah. But that would be the main way it did. We went for 1.5 years without teaching Sunday school. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, what is your missions activity? Has that affected you at all?
Not really, because most of or all of my work with the mission is on the computer. So I develop it without any problem. And
very good.
Things can be held and this type of thing. So it's been difficult, but it's not been catastrophic for our ministry, shall we say.
Very good. And we do have some newer folks here at the church, some younger folks here at the church. So you want to take a minute and explain what your missions ministry is, what it is that you do.
Okay. We're with Avant Ministry, which used to be Gospel Missionary Union. And back in 2019, our original mission, which was Central American Mission, then it was CAM International, then it was Camino Global, and we united with Avant in 2019. So we are now with Avant, and we are always getting reports of how different missionaries, different ministries are being affected by the COVID virus. We have, as far as I know, we have had no deaths in our mission as a result of COVID. Some have had the disease, but have not gone to be with the Lord as a result of it. And generally speaking, the ministries are going on. A lot more has been developed on the computer side, the virtual meetings and things like that. But the work has gone forward, and the Lord is continuing to bless. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, what do you have any projects that you're working on now for the ministry?
Okay.
Anything special going on?
Right now, I am in the process of editing a book that was written in Spanish by a native Guatemalan on the subject of the missionary church and what the missionary church is and how to get back to being truly missionary churches. So it's a 15-chapter book, and I have finished the basic editing of the book, and that's taken me about 6 months. And that involved reading through each chapter 4 times, and each time looking for what needs to be changed, what, where should the accents go and where should they not go, and are the sentences complete, and the thought, editorial work. And
right.
So right now I have finished the original editing of all 15 chapters, and I am going back for a 15th read or 5th read of the whole book, just to read it all through and pick up anything more that I can pick up and that needs to be checked out. So
now, this is not a book. This is not a book that you wrote. Someone else wrote it, and you're editing it.
Someone else wrote it, and I am editing what was written, and it is in Spanish. So that's the big catch. And
right.
the author of the book requested specifically that I do the editorial work. So evidently he's seen some of my work and thought I did a good job. And so he's been satisfied with what I've done. Yeah.
Very good.
So I look forward to finishing that within the month. And then there'll probably be another book that will come along that needs editing. So, and that's all on the computer. So, yeah, the Lord's been good.
Now, once the once the book is edited, is it published here in the United States and shipped overseas, or is it published? Are you working on something that will be published here at home or somewhere else?
It's interesting. We worked for 10 years with our publishing house in Puebla, Mexico, Ediciones Las Américas. Then we came to the States, and I continued working with Ella, Ediciones Las Américas, and translated 4 books from English to Spanish and did some other work for them. And then the mission decided we needed a website that would bring all of our resources together for our churches to be able to use. And Obrero Fiel was born as that website. Now, Obrero Fiel started in 2003. So it's now 18 years old and has mushroomed and has become a whole series of sites with Bible institutes, discipleship training, missionary, all kinds of things. Music. And our publishing house in Puebla has now been absorbed into Obrero Fiel as one of the ministries of Obrero Fiel. And now all of our books will be digitally published, and they will be published by our publishing house in Puebla. So, but they will be available worldwide. Mm-hmm.
And tell our folks what Obrero Fiel means.
Obrero Fiel means faithful worker.
Faithful worker.
And it was originally a site which had resources available to workers to be able to have something to consult and something to use as a resource, thinking especially in those who haven't had formal training. But then it's just mushroomed, and it is now so much more than it was when it began. Obrero Fiel.
So the mission support that you receive is used to support others in other countries, other nations, other languages, as they spread the gospel and train and disciple and learn as pastors and whatnot.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
That's what our main ministry is. Actually, we began in Panama.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I began in Panama because we were both single in our first terms. And I had a term and a half, 2 terms in Panama, one of them with Sylvia, and our children were born in Panama. And during those years, I discovered that my gift, spiritual gift, was the gift of teaching. So when an invitation came from the Bible Institute in Puebla, Mexico, where Sylvia had been before we were married, we accepted that. And we spent 17 years at the Bible Institute teaching Mexicans mainly, but some others, and preparing them for the work of the ministry. And I had 17 great years there doing that. And then the Lord changed the focus from, shall we say, a spoken Spanish ministry to working with the written Spanish. And the last 10 years we were in Mexico, we were at our publishing house, Ediciones Las Américas, and I was working in the editorial department in the publishing house and working on a team that did seminars in Christian education, preparing Sunday school teachers. So we traveled all through Central America, South America, up into Canada, wherever Spanish was used, preparing Sunday school teachers. And then we came to the States and continued a lot, and then came on with Obrero Fiel and editing the material that was being uploaded to that site.
And after we came to the States, you started going to Cuba.
Yeah. For about 8 years, I went at least one time to Cuba. So we had a significant ministry in Cuba, and it was all preparing either on the informal level or on the formal level, pastors and workers for the churches there. So
we actually had in Bangor, we had a Cuban pastor that came to the United States. He actually had a restaurant, sandwich shop, but we had him at our church one 4th of July. And we talked about the challenges of pastoring in Cuba and ministry in Cuba. And, you know, we think that COVID has been a problem for our churches. We don't know what it's like to deal in an environment like they had to deal with. Incredible.
It has been very, very difficult. Everything we've heard about Cuba has been negative when it comes to the COVID.
Now, one thing I did hear, and I think he was the one that told me, is that the Cuban government looked at the Baptist churches in Cuba, and I don't remember if it's Southern Baptist or what the name of the organization is, but they said, here's a group of people that come to work every day. They work hard. They have good families. We need to work with these people. And so basically the Cuban government went to the head of that church organization in Cuba and said, if you don't go out of your way to attack us, we'll let you be. And they have had some success not because of anything political, anything the United States has done, but because Cuban Christians are living the Christian life, and what a difference that made there.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different ball game in Cuba. The church in Cuba is just unbelievable.
Very good. Now, as someone who has pastored, who has preached, who has spoken, who's lived in a Spanish society, why is it important that you edit books rather than I could take one of the modern devices and it'll translate word for word? What's the difference between a word for word translation and what you do for translating, editing, things like that?
Oh,
in other words, the culture underneath.
I have never used one of those translation sites, but I imagine it's word for word, stilted, and doesn't know how the language flows and the idioms that are used and things like that. So it would be very difficult for a Spanish speaker to read a translation done by the computer, I think. Yeah.
Years ago, I was in Chicago ministering to a lot of kids from South America, different places.
Okay.
And I do remember a joke that they told, and I don't remember the joke, but the end of it was a donkey. That was the joke, which made absolutely no sense in English, but was absolutely hilarious to them because the word for donkey was, burro. It sounded like something else or whatever. So we, in our own, here in America, we have all across the country. Some people call it soda, some call it pop. Some people say you want a Coke. So you have to know the language, you have to know the people, and you have to make sure that it reads fluently. And I would expect to, as an editor, other people writing, your responsibility is to keep the heart of their writing intact while still making sure grammatical, punctuation, all that has to be right. So that's pretty precise work.
And the other thing is to be sure that everything is in an international Spanish rather than a Cuban Spanish or a Mexican Spanish. It has to be internationally accepted. So that's what we do, is put it in that kind of Spanish that will be universally understood by Spanish speakers. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Is there anything in particular you would like us to pray for your ministry? Anything going on in particular we could be praying for you folks?
Well, pray for Sylvia, 26, especially the 3 days before the 26th, so the 23rd, because the clinic has said do not take any medications at all for 3 days before your appointments. So we have to pray that she doesn't have an episode of the swelling during those 3 days. It could be very serious. Yeah. So that would be praying for her. And then just praying that the Lord would give wisdom as I do this work, and that the Lord would bless as it goes out. It'll go out in print form and in digital form, so it will be readily accessible. Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing the editing and translation? How long have you been doing that now?
Since 1990. Yeah.
Very good.
When we left the seminary and went to our publishing house in Puebla, that was in 1990 when we made the switch from
very good
mainly spoken to mainly written Spanish. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I would say that with the situation that we have now with COVID, having online resources is more important than ever before. Being able to go on, study and learn and train. Certainly there's a bunch of evil garbage out on the internet, but there's some really good stuff out there as well.
Yeah, very definitely.
And of course, it's the internet that's making this call possible between you and I.
Yes.
That we can speak to each other. So we want to use the resources we've got. The theme of our missions conference is working with the master builder. And our song's an old one. We'll work till Jesus comes. We're not going to work him in, but we're going to stay busy about the master's business because he'll be home. He'll be here soon. We'll be home soon. He'll be here for us soon.
Amen.
So
Amen.
In the meantime, we're going to stay faithful here in Olemon. And thank you both so much for what you've done for all the years and the service that you've provided. Do you have any idea how many people use those online resources each day, week, month? Do you have any kind of numbers?
I would put it into the millions. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
incredible.
No, it is. It's incredible. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can have such a far-reaching effect from wherever we are now. Missions has always been about reaching people where they are and telling them who God is and explaining Jesus Christ to them. But we have such an opportunity today we don't want to miss.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Well, anything else you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
Well, I got a verse here that I want to leave with the people. Isaiah 33:2. It's a prayer of Israel. It says, Lord, be gracious to us. We long for you. Be our strength every morning, our salvation in time of distress. And I think that pictures pretty much what we're in, that time of distress. And we need to thank the Lord for his gracious working in our lives and long for him and ask him to be our strength and our salvation every morning and every day. Mm-hmm.
Amen. Well, again, good to see you. Glad we could meet this way.
The people. Give us special greetings to the people.
Yes.
Absolutely. In fact, they're going to be watching. They're going to be watching this video at home and away. So here's your chance. You want to say hi? Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Well, again, it's been wonderful visiting with you today. I'm glad you could be with us. And one of the things that this does is allows us to hear from more of our missionaries. It used to be you had to travel to Olemon to see us.
Yeah.
And now we can share in our conference with you now. So
exactly. And we are here, we would say in Spanish, a sus órdenes. We're at your orders. Whatever we can do to help. Just
Amen.
Send us an email and we'll do what we can do. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. And Lord, thanks for being with us today. Lord bless you folks, and we'll keep praying for you and keep supporting you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thanks, Bob and Sylvia. We haven't seen you here in Greenbush in a long time, and we sure do miss you. Glad to hear the ministry still going forward, and we will continue in prayer. Up next is George Stouffer. Apologies in advance for the technical difficulties we had. The internet did not want to cooperate. I am glad we were able to get a conversation and record it to share with you folks. Here's George Stouffer.
Okay. I'm hearty welcome from South Carolina, from my wife and I. She's not in the picture, but I think this is what the third attempt here working on this.
It is.
She gave up after a little bit, but it works the best if I have these earphones in. And it's hard to have both of us on the earphones at the same time. So she's not here, but she would say hi. We have warm memories of being with you folks. Actually, it goes back, 2004, 5, something like that. No, that was when we came to live in Maine. It was the second. Anyway, goes back a long time, probably close to 40, 50 years since we've had a little bit of an exposure with the folks there. So we say hi to all of you. I look over the list of names that we have here of people that are on our mailing list. And we could spend a lot of time just getting caught up. How you all doing? Mention how grateful we are to be able to have the support and the prayer that you folks have poured into our ministry over the years. Let me go ahead and just give a little bit of an update, because it has been since February 2020 that we've been here in South Carolina. A good chunk of that has been involved in getting back to physical shape, which is unusual for me because I've hardly been in a hospital all my life, hardly had sicknesses at all. But that happens, and the Lord brings it along, so we learn to live with it. But while we have been away, there's still a ministry involved there with the school overseas. They've had an academic committee. I really wasn't looking for the job, but they gave me the job of principal. And when I started there, it was about, I think, 370 students in the college and seminary, and they wanted me to be principal over both of those. I would rather be teaching, I'll put it that way, but they needed someone. And they needed someone to help produce leadership there. One thing we've seen by being here at home, it has forced people there to step up and do the work that we had done when we were there, which is part of the overall plan that we've had. I can put it into a short phrase. It's not so important what we do when we're in a foreign country. What is really important is what they can do after we leave. We've heard missionaries in Africa and Haiti talk about, no, not missionaries, but people who live, the native people in those different countries. They say the missionaries came, they preached, people got saved, they built a lot of buildings, and they left. And we have no way of training future pastors. In some cases, they were very interested in building hospitals, which we don't have doctors and nurses to fill them with. And it just seems so short-sighted to have a kind of missions ministry philosophy that it concentrates on just things. We have made it our point that we want to develop people to be able to do things that they would not have been able to do. So in our absence, we have been very thankful to see, like the person who was the business manager of the school stepping up and doing many of the things that I was doing as a principal, which it rejoices my heart. And the academic dean to start, doing more and more of the kind of things that I would have done when I was there. So it's just been encouraging to see that. Also, we've seen that among some of the younger teachers who are willing to take up even daily mundane things like typing up announcements and schedule changes and things that go out daily to all the faculty and students, so everybody knows what's going on. Or another one of the young faculty member taking the initiative to type up the minutes for the various meetings of like the committee, academic committee, or the faculty meetings and such, and to send them out. Or even the young men who've taken over the music program. We were a big part of it. I would direct the choirs, my wife would play piano, and then we had last couple of years some excellent help on the piano. But it's not so much what we do when we're there, but what can they do when we leave? Even the cantata that we put on just before all the COVID hit, that would be December of 2019. Even though I got a lot of it ready and worked through, especially the drama part, I deliberately put the younger teachers involved to get them involved into doing it. So when we took the cantata off campus, the directing was done entirely by the younger teachers and not by us. And that just thrills my heart, because we don't want to go and then nothing take the place. We visited another school in that country, a big school. It had some great leadership. But I looked around and said, well, who's here to play piano? Well, she used to play piano when she was here, but we have almost nobody now. And I thought, oh, what a shame for a couple to spend almost a whole lifetime and not have the people there to take their place. Yeah. So those are things that it's been heavy on my mind. So continuing while we're here, and not looking at occasionally too many things, there's been more time now for personal spiritual development during this time we've been home. I've enjoyed continuing our study, the one I've been doing now for years, of going through the Bible twice a year, listening to it, but trying to follow along in Greek and Hebrew. Otherwise, and I already lost Hebrew once, entirely. I couldn't even give you the alphabet. Now, when I took Hebrew the second time, I determined, this time I don't want to lose it. And so I followed through that. So it gives the scope of the whole scriptures, and it gives a good review of the various features of the language that I don't want to forget. Also, I've been doing the in-depth study in Isaiah 24 through 27, sometimes called the Little Apocalypse, because it so well follows the events that we read in the book of Revelation. And the structure is primarily what I was interested in, but I'm going to have to do far more to prove that structure, far more with the Hebrew and the understanding of the text. When it's all done, that could easily be an entire book. But I'd love to finish it, but I just pray that, ask you to pray. The Lord will give a sound mind, clear thinking, till I get to the place that I can finish it. I have seen that if you understand how a book is structured, there's much more meaning to what's in any given verse, because you wonder, why is it in that paragraph? And how does that paragraph fit with the other paragraphs? Mm-hmm. It's much stronger when you understand all of that. And I feel that way when I listen and read through those chapters in Isaiah. So as part of that study, I've memorized those chapters, and I'm starting now to working on the translation of them and getting familiar with the structure. I've had time to do a lot more with memory, a lot of memory that I've allowed to slip, and I shouldn't have. I want to encourage you to be thinking about verses that you have memorized, and if you have forgotten them, or chapters, that you begin some kind of plan to review them. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact that the powers that are running this country would be delighted to have all Christians locked up in a re-education camp where we hear their propaganda almost 24 hours a day. And we have no access to the Bible. And so what we would be able to think about would be what we've memorized. And I want to encourage you to be thinking that way and not let the memory verses slip. I had a fair amount of work to do to get Philippians back. I memorized that at one of the classes in Christian school that I taught. Actually, it was a year-long project with second and third graders. They memorized the book of Philippians. It was a wonderful, but I allowed it to slip. But I've been able to review that. There are 17 Psalms that we have memorized, mostly as a family, but some of them have gone by the wayside. So this has given me opportunity while I've been here to be able to do that. a good time to do that is while I'm walking. It's been highly encouraged after the blood clots that I had after the second surgery, that walking would be something that would help dissolve it. And so I try to put in an hour or two a day, and the place to walk is about as good as you could ever expect. Relatively quiet. I can concentrate on the scriptures. A lot of paved roads and things. Our church is just across the street from us, just a little bit farther than the parsonage is from the church building there in the Lemon. And a beautiful setting, well cared for. And so I work on reviewing memory as well as getting the work done on the blood clots as well as shoulder, because I exercise my shoulder while I'm walking.
So you're here. Are they still having school, or what's happening with the ministry?
Yeah, over there, they're having school. It's been encouraging that after they had a COVID outbreak, I can't remember if I even talked about it this time around or not, but with just a few students with COVID, and then it just quickly spread. I think 60-some people on campus had trouble, but able to follow through with them, with some of the advice from these world-class doctors that I've been listening to. And within just a few days, they saw a big improvement. And within a week or two, they were back to classes as normal. Now, the population is not as great, where it had been at one time up to, I think, 370. They maybe have just under 200 now. One whole group cannot come because they come from a neighboring country that has gone through a military, and they've had with COVID. There's one area there, there were 40-some pastors that died of COVID. That's 40 pastors that died. And so that group has not been able to join campus. So it's been, the attendance is down. All last year, they tried to continue what they could with the internet type of training. But now they're having the actual in-person classes.
Are you able to interact with them from here?
I'm looking at my list.
Yeah.
Basically, I have not been interacting with them in classes. For the last couple of years, because of being principal, I haven't taught, except for working with teaching how to direct music and stuff. And so I've had interaction with the academic committee, but not so much with classes. But if things continue like they have been, they might not let us back in, where they haven't been letting people, foreigners, in to the country because of COVID. So we're not sure when that can happen, but we're hoping that by the time that opens up, we'll be physically able enough to be able to go back. Okay. In the meantime, we probably will do more teaching online. And if you remember, IPM, International Partnership Ministries, has some 20 schools around the world. Most of them are small. Our school would be the largest of them all. And they are quite often looking for teachers. So I'm thinking I might be able to help out there as well.
Good. Very good.
Good.
Now, physically, you're on the mend.
So I'm trying to think. Yeah. Like I say, I'm walking 1 to 2 hours a day.
Good.
And increasing. I don't know if I did this time around, but before, if I were here, this right shoulder would be up in the air more. At least it's down. I have to keep forcing it down. But before I had the problem with the rotator cuff, I was able to exercise with a 5-pound weight in each hand. I'm up now to a 2-pound weight. And even when I'm this kind of motion here, taking it up over my shoulder, that was impossible not too long ago. And I can do it now with a 2-pound weight. So
very good.
I'm encouraged. Thanks, sir.
Very good. Now, what else? What else did you have you wanted to talk about? Anything else you wanted to discuss?
Well, I think it's maybe shorter than the last time, but I think we covered. Each time we go through it, can help get it a little shorter. I did mention that where I'm located in the house is, I call it the cave. We're in the basement, and we're in the back room where it's dirt on all sides of the room. And then the other sides are concrete blocks. So this makes a very good room to be able to do Zoom work in. Very quiet. And so I appreciate that. But at the same time, I really yearn for some sunshine. And with the leadership of my son, I'm just doing the assisting, the go-to person, what I could with my shoulder, to put on enclose a porch area so that we can be out there summer and when it's not too cold in the winter. And I really welcome that.
Yeah, as we're talking, it's 70 degrees outside. It's a beautiful, just getting into fall kind of day here in Maine. So, we're going to enjoy the weather as long as we can.
Yes. Someone sent a picture from the word escapes me. Anyway, one of those things that flies up in the air and takes pictures.
Drone.
Anyway, drone, there it is, of Living Waters Camp up closer to Holton.
Yes.
And it was beautiful. You can see some of the trees changing, and it's just one of those beautiful fall days that just can hardly be beat.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything other than your health and, of course, the school, anything particular you'd want us to pray for or a way you'd want us to pray for you?
I mentioned earlier about the teachers doing, mundane sort of things, and someone kind of stepping in and doing the work of principal. The real job that administrators had asked me to do was to help the people there move away from memory-based education to a memory plus understanding. A person could actually graduate from the college with actually fairly good grades and understand very little simply because they're good at memory. And I would like to say that we've made huge progress in that. I think there's been some. But I would just ask you to pray that could expand quite a bit. I know that we've talked about it among the teachers at academic committee meeting. And so we hope that will actually take place.
And I don't remember if we talked about it this time through, but you did mention getting back to the choir work.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Operations are tough on a person's voice. When they put you under, they put the tube down your throat, and COVID doesn't help any of that. So I wasn't able to sing, hardly able to talk for, decently for a while. But of late, I was able to get back into the choir here, and in the process, learned so many good songs that we take a note of, and then I can usually buy a lot of that music used, but in very good shape. Take it over there, and the students, the faculty just love it. Some of the finest music you can imagine, and so that's been great. And then too, while I'm there, I get to see how a master director, Tim Fisher, even though he's done a lot of recording work with the Sacred Music Services and other groups down here in Greenville, written some books and so forth. But he's the director, and so I get to watch an expert person and learn from him, and I can take those techniques and teach it to the folks over there that are learning the music.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, George, again, I appreciate your patience. As you mentioned, this is the third time through. Third time's supposed to be the charm, so let's hope that it is.
Well, I hope it. Yeah.
But and
I'll double check it after we're done to be sure.
you must be feeling better because we've been on for a long time doing this. But thank you again. It's been our pleasure as a church to support you for a lot of years. Appreciate the work you're doing, and so glad we could find a way. This isn't perfect, but I could imagine what Paul would do with Zoom back in his day and the other technologies.
Oh, yes.
We are blessed.
Yeah.
We are blessed. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. Lord bless you.
And it's good that we can make this connection. Yep.
Absolutely. Again, Lord bless. We'll be praying for you and continue to support. Very good. Very good.
And the Lord bless you folks there.
All right. We will see you later.
Bye.
Bye now.
Hello, this is Jeff Tenney, pastor of Faith Bible Church of Oleman. Thanks so much for worshiping with us today. We trust it was a blessing and that you might find encouragement for the coming week in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you're ever in the Greenbush area, we'd love to meet you in person. Our services start on Sunday mornings at 9:45 for Sunday school, 11 a.m. for the morning worship service, 6 p.m. for the evening service, and on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. we gather for Bible study and prayer. May God richly bless you and your family as you seek to serve Him wherever you are this week.
When I'm around, heaven is listening to my song.